Hey guys, welcome back to the Next Rank YouTube channel with Johnny and Jack. Today we're going to be looking at some Diaz versus Mawkzy games that recently occurred on LAN. Some of you guys would have already seen this, but if you haven't, you can watch the full series on, well, actually multiple channels, including my own. But yeah, fully recommend you guys checking it out. Awesome series between two of the best ones players in the world. And Jack, you probably, I don't think you did catch this live. You said you didn't. You didn't
No,
have a chance
I
to watch
haven't
this one,
seen
so
it.
we're
This
going
is
to
my
watch this for
first
the
time
first time.
watching, any type of gameplay from this series. But I got told in the scoreline shows that it's a good game. So yeah.
Yeah, so let's jump into the first of two games here. We're going to take a bit of a closer look into Diaz in this first game, then we'll look at a Mawkzy POV, see what these guys are all about. I mean, we already know what these guys are about for ones. Mawkzy, it's the ground game, it's the flicks, it's the wave dash recovery kickoffs. Diaz, it's the aerial game, it's the full pitch air dribbles, it's the mechanics. But they're both extremely well-rounded, even though they do have their specialities.
Absolutely.
And you're going to get to see a bit of the solid gameplay in Diaz POV here, because he doesn't need to air dribble off his own backboard, which is nice to just be able to air dribble off your own backboard and score, of course, but he doesn't need to. He's got a solid all-around game as well.
Yeah, he moves. I don't know if you agree, but he moves kind of. They obviously have differences in their play styles, but he moves like a Ruas or Daniel type of kind of movement in his car. And Daniel is kind of one player that I always think is most similar to Diaz in my opinion, because they're very smooth, they're very controlled. They can score and do often score in ones really, really nice shots, but a lot of the time they're also just playing quite simple almost in their style and threatening simple shots as well as kind of really tough ones. We wanted to show this series as well because it really is a highlight of kind of brains versus mechanics. Mawkzy is definitely, in my opinion, the smartest ones player in the world. I mean, that's his whole style really, and he can and does score really nice shots. Does nowadays Johnny go more into the air when he has the chance? We just saw him do so. He actually prefers to go to the ceiling when he goes into the air a lot, as opposed to Diaz, who prefers to stay in the air with air dribbles into resets. So there are, he still does go in the air, but he is more grounded and he chooses to opt for safer plays using the ceiling, in my opinion, rather than kind of riskier plays where Diaz sometimes does send kind of the full house at the opponent's net. Yeah,
Diaz is relying on that boost management to bail him out of some situations, but with how good he is in the air, it sometimes doesn't even matter. Mawkzy likes to go for those little bumps in defense and offense. He always tries to trip up his opponents, land on the ground before them, and just bump them out of the way. So yeah, he's conceded there because he barely missed a bump, but he's thinking, he's not just thinking about defending there, he's thinking about counter-attacking always. In fact, we're going to see a ton of counter-attacks in this game that do land successfully. Now, the moment this game was played, it was game 2 of the grand final of this Ascension Protocol 1's LAN. Both these guys were the clear top 2 going into the event. They're the clear top 2 at the event, and they'd actually won 2 games against each other before this, because we did some other formats as well. Mawkzy won the game in the NA versus the World, and then Diaz actually beat him twice in the group stage, both involving massive comebacks. So the Mawkzy wins game 1 of the final. They're overall 2-2 in games in the previous 2 days of competition, but it's 1-0 to Mawkzy in the grand final. Diaz looking to tie it up, just for a little bit of context here, but they all that to say, they've got a good read on each other by now. So there's a lot of mind games going on, a lot of attempted adjustments are occurring.
Yeah, and it's always the kickoffs that's going to dictate this kind of game when you have 2 players that are, that are close in level. I mean, there are a few mistakes coming out from both players, in my opinion, in offense right now, but that's the nature of 1v1. That's the nature of just 1v1 in general, but also 2, playing it on LAN. Okay, playing 1v1 on LAN is a whole different beast. You'll see a lot more differences compared to kind of the online forms. A lot more mistakes here and there, and we do see a couple in offense from both players making a couple of mistouches or overcommits. It's pretty hard not to. We'll see if anything changes as we get kind of progress further into the series. The next game we're going to be watching is the last game of the series. So yeah, we'll see if anything changes there. We've actually not seen any full field air duels yet from Diaz, Johnny, from the back wall, which is kind of what he's known for.
Oh, what spawn!
Yeah, that is a crazy spawn. Nowadays you can see that spawn happen before you actually spawn there.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago or a year and a half ago, you actually wouldn't be able to, which was a pretty interesting. But yeah, Nowadays, you have the luxury of that. Oh my, he just misses his demo. Mawkzy, yeah, overcoming on a couple of bumps or not quite getting a couple of bumps, should I say. And it caused him to lose a couple goals. He'll be frustrated at that because from his point of view, it would have looked like he could have gotten a demo there. So not necessarily, something that he'll be too happy with.
Yeah, there's a real focus for Mawkzy in all of his games on the little bumps, the demos, and nice mind game by Mawkzy as well. The angle and the dribble really creating all the threats in the world there. Diaz worried about the hook shot, worried about Mawkzy cutting in field even. So
I do like that. Sorry to raise it.
Yeah,
but
switches sides immediately as soon as Diaz goes back on the one side of the pitch. This is something you guys can do in your own game. It's if you can't replicate the mechanics of these guys, don't worry. When you see your opponent retreating in ones on one side of the pitch, dribble down the other side or dribble across to the other side, because now it's so much more threatening. Diaz has to worry about a million different things.
Yeah, absolutely, and you'll notice if you're paying attention closely to the gameplay in this game so far, you'll notice now a couple of times once Diaz is in Mawkzy's kind of final third or half, like he is right now. Mawkzy, even if he doesn't have 100 boost, he's not concerned about taking his time to get a little bit more boost to make his attack as threatening as possible. He focuses more on the time aspect, the time kind of constriction of his opponent. He's trying to take his time away from his opponent. His opponent is trying to buy himself time to grab a corner boost or a lot of pads. Mawkzy is just speeding the ball up. So if you see your opponent backing off, and like Johnny said, especially on the other side of the pitch, you take a play out of Mawkzy's book, you speed the ball up, and specifically on the other side of the pitch, create as much space as possible and to give yourself as many angles as possible. That makes covering every shots from the defensive side pretty much impossible there. It's really difficult for Diaz to cover everything. He could have probably played the ball slightly, but he's also concerned about the cut to the midfield, which is what he was trying to cover. And yeah, it's really, really difficult. But minute and a half left. I think Diaz is still feeling pretty good, but that flick might say otherwise, Johnny. A little tense. 1v1 is the hardest game mode to keep your nerve in. Yeah, that's a good bump, but not quite on target. And that's just going to be, I think, Johnny, like the fifth cross kind of open net off of overcommitting offense this game.
Yeah, Mawkzy, he must have really thought that was at least hitting the bar and going down to commit as heavily as he did to it. But yeah, Diaz will be very glad to see that Mawkzy's missed his shot. We're able to take away some things from Diaz's game here. The highly mechanical things, not so much for all of us to take away in Diaz gameplay especially. But yeah, I do like the aggression from Diaz. He tries to put challenges in early. That's a good trend that you guys can try to replicate. And one other thing I wouldn't really recommend trying to copy from Diaz's game is that his style for attempting to counter Mawkzy's kickoff. He just sticks to standard kickoffs for the most part. I wouldn't recommend that. I've actually had a chance to talk to him about this. He says that it's his comfort zone. He just likes to do that, but he probably knows that it would be good to incorporate more delayed kickoffs. He did one in the last kickoff, I think it was, or 2 kickoffs ago, but he doesn't go do it too often because he just doesn't
a bit
have
more
as
variety
much practice doing it.
You'd recommend,
I would recommend variety. I'd recommend delays, fakes, like especially if somebody's using wave dash recovery kickoffs, which a lot of players are doing now because it's so strong. Mawkzy thinks it's just better, flat out better than standard kickoffs. So you have to try and get them out of that rhythm. It's something I know Diaz is going to try to do in the future.
Definitely. I just wanted to pause here quickly to show this type of flick. I mean, it's a very, very small thing, and maybe Diaz was just trying to score, but I think he's a very, very smart player, and he would have realized if you shoot across the goal here, Johnny, you know it yourself. Unless it's just open or you think you have a really, really high chance of scoring this flick across a goal to the other side of to the right side, if Mawkzy gets that save, what does that do? It pushes the ball to the other side of the pitch. It speeds the play up, and when you're a goal up with low time left in the game, that's the last thing you want because that opens up for a counter attack. If you flick above their head or behind them, so down the middle of the goal or to the left, yes, they might get the save. And this could be a little dangerous, but if you more flick to the left side, the ball isn't going to be able to speed up and you're not going to be able to concede a counter attack. So if you flick to the right side of the goal, it basically gives you a higher chance of conceding a counter attack straight away. If you flick more to the left, it's a lot safer there. So I was kind of thinking if Diaz chose to do that because he slightly delayed his flick there, and I thought it was interesting to show. But I've always recommend, especially on low time, but even if there's 3 minutes left in the game, flicking behind your opponent rather than across the goal, unless you see that it's going to be a goal 100%, it's going to be a lot better or a lot higher of a percentage that you're going to make threatening attacks over and over again.
Yeah, we're getting towards the end of the game here. Diaz just trying to focus on his recoveries, making sure not to overcommit, and then that touchback pretty much confirms the game's over as long as he can avoid the demo in the back corner. Doesn't need to worry about it. Mawkzy actually decides to cut in field. Does actually get demoed though, so eventually the demo lands, and Mawkzy's got a real chance here. Probably the scariest player to go up against, but
challenge.
Diaz, smart play, just sends it and wins the game. Before we go into the second game, Jack, could you rewind to 20-ish seconds to go, 22 seconds to go? There's one other thing that I wanted to... the challenge that led to this right here. That little wiggle to the side, that's something you guys can take from Diaz while he's shadowing in this play. It's an awkward position when you're shadowing against somebody like Mawkzy, or I know a lot of you guys watching probably don't enjoy having to play reactively like that, but yeah, show it one more time in slow motion, Jack, so people can get the idea of how to do it. Yeah, right here. Sure. So yeah, let's watch this bit. So he's shadowing, he's near post, this is all fine. Sometimes you just have to shadow, there's nothing really going with fake challenges, but he's able to create an angle. He goes alongside the ball. This is what people struggle with when they're shadowing. They try to get under the ball and pop it into the crossbar. I see, you mean
the turn to the
pulling
right
away
there.
To the side, the little turn, and then giving yourself an angle to challenge. It's really important that you guys start to incorporate that into your gameplay. But yeah, Mawkzy, again, like you've noticed, Jack, he's always looking for the follow through demo. It's not just about the flick. He's thinking, demo. How do I follow through this play and catch somebody off guard? It's so smart.
Yeah, Diaz knows if he carries on going for this boost, he's going to get demoed and it's probably going to be a goal. Mawkzy will definitely be annoyed that that's not a demo, because that really could be a demo in that position. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. So it's a really good demo attempt still. It's a great demo avoidance. Like Johnny said, not staying underneath this ball directly once the flick is gone. Once the flick is gone from Mawkzy's car, Diaz knows that Mawkzy can no longer touch the ball because he's mid-flip, and he knows that he's going to be on zero boost, or at least very low boost, just from his game awareness. But yeah, he just takes the time. He creates an angle so the touch is easier, and that puts it into a safe spot. He still has work to do to avoid the demo, and he does just that. I want to point one more thing out before we go on to the next game. This is the very last thing. You'll notice that right here, Diaz gets the mid boost, and he's in Mawkzy's kind of line of sight, right? What Diaz is going to try and do now is he's going to try and go directly behind the ball. Okay, so he goes directly behind the ball here, or tries to kind of get him out of Mawkzy's sight. If we look at Mawkzy's camera here, he might see him, but no, he actually doesn't. So now he's done his job successfully, and Mawkzy has no idea, basically, if Diaz is about to challenge him or not. So it's a very interesting thing here that Diaz does. And high-level ones players, you would have seen Mawkzy do it 10 times this game, Diaz do it 10 times this game. I just saw this one instance and wanted to point it out and how effective it would be. Because Mawkzy, right now, he can see him if he's challenging. As he turns ball cam off, which you normally do when you're dribbling the ball, he can no longer see it. So he has to flick early in case Diaz full dives with a backflip or a half flip challenge there. Kind of interesting, and something you guys can take into your own game.
All right, let's get into the second game of today's video, and this is going to be Mawkzy POV this time, and we're going to watch, Mawkzy, spoiler alert, close out the series. Up until now, the series had been going back and forth with Mawkzy winning all the odd-numbered games, Diaz winning all the even-numbered games, so we're into Game 6. Diaz needs to win this, keep that trend going to force Game 7. But Mawkzy was able to break this cycle and win. Actually, we're going to try and play this without pausing much, but can we watch that kickoff again? Because this is really cool to see. The drive kickoff being used more and more, because I think it's one of the most underutilized kickoffs in the game, just simply driving into the ball. Very good in the diagonal spawn. And Mawkzy actually did it from goal side there, which is
so I want to say quickly,
usually do the other side of the ball.
It might be because he thought that Diaz was delaying.
Oh yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be because he's doing something here.
Diaz, he jumps. He's kind of slow, and Mawkzy can see that. But maybe it's drive. But I think if it was a drive kickoff, like specifically trying to lose it, he'd be turning earlier. But that doesn't change. Yeah. Even if he did it here, it could work. So yeah, no, I do like to see that. I like that touch as well, crossing over to the space.
Yeah, I love that.
Instead of trying to go to the nearest boost. Where Diaz can pressure him instantly, he crosses over into the space. There's a lot of kind of space management, I guess, if you want to call it that. A good bump in Diaz by Diaz scoring Mawkzy there. If you notice, he just scored him in his own goal. And oh my, okay,
he could have saved that, but that was tough.
Very tough. Yeah,
he landed a bit too much momentum on the other side of his own crossbar.
Yeah,
Diaz up 2-0. He's very happy to just continue playing the physical battle with Mawkzy. Very happy to try to play standard kickoffs for the most part. The one thing I said in the last game, I wouldn't recommend trying to copy Diaz style against Mawkzy's kickoff specifically, with how few adaptations he makes. He does do one thing that very well, and that's it's all about the positioning of his car after he, quote unquote, loses a kickoff. So Mawkzy will have the ability to wave dash, overtake him and win the ball and the mid boost often, but Diaz will just plant his car between Mawkzy and the mid boost, and that way the only wave dash available for Mawkzy is a bump or into Diaz, which actually helps Diaz because he's forced to bump him towards the boost and towards the ball. So look out for that from Diaz. I don't remember if it happens in this game, but he does it a lot against Mawkzy. And another player who used to do this a lot is Jan. He used to just stick to standard kickoffs throughout the entire game and just put his car in the way, because you know that you can't get enough, most of the time at least, you can't get enough momentum to demo someone off a kickoff recovery.
Absolutely. A couple of goals. I think that is a goal. Yeah, a couple of goals coming out here by just standard kind of 1v1 awareness by Mawkzy. He's avoiding a couple of bumps in the corner. He actually went for his own bump on the mid boost for his second goal of this game, giving him a couple of basically open nets. And he does have the space here, and I'd be very surprised if he doesn't score.
Bang. Wow.
Again, I'm going to say, again, it's really, for Mawkzy, it is about if your opponent is overcommitting, and by the way, overcommitting can mean they're still behind the ball, but they're just not quite fast enough to get back at this stage. And that there's a big difference between, SSL ones players, for example, and the best ones player in the world, or one of the best ones players in the world at the very least. We'll see at the World Championship. But yeah, he creates that kind of danger instantly as soon as he sees his opponent going for boost or overcommitting in terms of space. So he just speeds the ball up, and you see he scores a couple of goals from that. Great save, Johnny, off of his own crossbar there,
Unreal.
keeping that goal out. But yeah, he goes for another demo here in the corner. He's just keeping Diaz always guessing, or always scared, I think, is the main thing. Yeah,
he's just he covers the threat so well, and whenever he's got his opponent out of position, he just goes, he just sends it. Yeah, he's left the net a bit open there, so Diaz will walk it in the air. But yeah, I think the idea is really important for you guys to take away. Jack's talked about a couple times in this video, to attack quickly if your opponent's uncomfortable. Just go. Don't give them time to recover. Because they probably want to grab the boost, probably want to have a chance to get in position, fake a challenge, then put themselves in a good spot. You can remove all of those factors by just simply attacking more quickly. Just having a bit more urgency. Something that translates very well into 2s and 3s also is just being able to quickly get the ball moving and have a threat, whether it's a flick or a shot, available to you as fast as possible. You all know how quickly people will try and demo you from behind if you're trying to dribble their teammate in 2v2 especially.
And we don't mean say it and then see a bunch of you go into your ranked games and just kind of rush your attacks, because Mawkzy is not rushing his attacks. I mean, neither of these players are. When they speed the play up, it's still into a controlled position, and then usually at the end they slow down. It's about speeding it up. Great flick, amazing save. Wow. It's about speeding the play up, but also then slowing down last second, because you've done your job. You've forced your opponent to get back, and then they have to cut all their momentum off. Johnny, a rule 1 coming out there.
Wait, who broke this? Because Mawkzy scored, so
I mean, Diaz must have broke it, right? That's just the way Rocket League works.
based on the karma, you'd expect it to be so. But this was a Diaz favored position.
Diaz
he broke it to try and get a goal. I would have been really interested to see them just sit that one out and see where the ball ends up, because they could have probably sat there for 2 minutes and it would have just gone to overtime.
100%
for the tournament.
100%. That would have been hilarious. But yeah, I mean, Mawkzy actually looked like he was going to try and stake her at least until it was favourable for him. But it was favourable for him in the end when it ended up being broken. So he's going to be happy about that. I don't want to kind of overanalyze it, but I like this touch as well. When we're on 12 boost, if we can just hit the ball hard into space behind our opponent and towards the boost pad, it actually keeps possession and gets us a goal. I mean, that's
so good. Yeah.
like I said, like this is just, yeah, this is
Because
just
Diaz wants to
so
go
good.
there. If we can watch Diaz POV of this play
Yeah.
and see why it's so annoying. Because he steals the boost. He wants to turn and shoot. Can't. Mawkzy booms it.
Yeah.
And then he wants to turn again.
He can't catch it, really,
to shoot,
like-
but he can't turn because Mawkzy's just there the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's just perfect spacing by Mawkzy again.
Yeah.
He's just so difficult to get off the ball, regardless of his boost total.
And Mawkzy knows that Diaz cannot catch the touch before Mawkzy was even going to touch that. Like he knows that if he hits this hard here, Diaz is not going to be able to get back to it, get behind the ball and catch it before I get this mid boost and then gets the ball again. That's his thought process,
Yeah.
100% that, before he touches. I mean, it's not even a thought process, it's just instinct from playing so much ones. You just do that touch there, and it's so nice every time. Again, he speeds the play up for that 8th goal when Diaz is on 0 boost. He just gets a quick shot
here he
past him.
He's doing his thing again, and it's
Oh,
it, of course.
Okay. I thought
Just
that
classic
actually
Diaz.
wasn't going to be a goal because I thought that this game ended 8-5, Johnny, but I was like, how is this not in? And yeah, it did go in. A really nice shot. Was that from his... I didn't
was from
really
his own
see.
backboard, of
From his
course.
backboard,
Yeah.
of course it is, yeah.
I
Crazy.
think so. Yeah, I mean, it just is so consistent. It's outrageous. And I was watching him play. Like we got a chance to watch a ton of Diaz in person in Toronto at the LAN, and yeah, every single
Amazing.
ranked game, he's just doing the same thing in 2v2. Is every time, like
No, he's
every
a
single
great
time,
twos
full
player.
control.
He's a great twos player.
He is, yeah.
Me and Johnny were speaking a bit before. Hang on, this could be a goal here. Great save,
What a
though.
save.
Me and Johnny were speaking a little bit about, kind of the video before we recorded and speak about the styles of the players. And I would say, like I said, Mawkzy always likes going towards the ceiling whenever he goes for his types of aerial plays. Diaz is more kind of flip reset, although he did go to the ceiling on that play before. Mawkzy scores his 9th goal here. To pretty much finish off the game, Johnny. Yeah, actually, it's a
And
forfeit.
it is forfeit, yeah.
Yeah, but let me finish my
I
thought
was a
real
bit surprised
quick.
Diaz
Sorry.
forfeit in the final, but yeah, that was just dominant by Mawkzy.
It was tough. Let me finish this thought real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here. But I would say that Diaz, he's a very, very good twos player. He's obviously a very high level threes player as well, having made lands and stuff. But his style in ones is more. It's going to be more rewarding to improving overall in Rock League. I don't know if you agree with that in twos and threes, for example, because twos and threes does require more kind of flip resets. Pretty much that's the point. It requires more flip resets to be really good at twos and threes. Doesn't mean you have to be flashy with them, but you do have to know when to do them, how to pull them off. Mawkzy's style is definitely more, in my opinion, just more solid in ones, just stronger in ones. But that doesn't mean that Diaz can't beat him at all, because he has multiple games in this tournament, right? You definitely can be the best ones player in the world with Diaz's style. I don't want to kind of get that point mixed up there. But yeah, Johnny, really interesting kind of games coming out here from both players. I was really impressed, especially by Mawkzy, of course. He ended up winning this game, so naturally he was more impressive. And yeah, really interesting stuff overall.
And it's the match that we didn't obviously get to see with the way that RLCS ones was structured this year.
Unfortunately,
we never got to see Europe against. Well, I was going to say Europe against North America, but we did get to see Mawkzy against Jan, Diaz, actual countryman. So we couldn't see Mina against Sam. Or we couldn't see EU against NA with the way that the matches on majors in the majors went. But yeah, we did get to see Mawkzy versus Diaz. So I feel like we've had just almost a confirmation that the grand final of RLCS ones is in fact the two best RLCS ones players, because Diaz lost to Naupo and now he's lost to Mawkzy as well. So we're going to get to see. Can Mawkzy do it in Leon, which will be an awesome match. Can't wait.
Actually, real quick before we end this video, because I personally have nothing to say. Do you have a prediction for that match, or do you not want?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
Okay.
Every day it changes.
Yes,
I swear, every day it changes.
Same.
I can't make my mind up because I don't know whether the French audience is going to be an advantage or is it going to put more pressure on Mawkzy.
I think it might put a little bit too much pressure, and
it might.
I think if there's any player that you don't want to kind of concede a game too early on and then give them the momentum, it's Nupo. You'd only give that guy kind of that momentum to start feeling his mechanics to an even higher level than he already will be, and his speed, and then he just gets he just becomes so ball chasey in a good way, and so aggressive, and obviously he's so fast that it's okay, you're just going to get caught out for 4 goals a game at least from that. So you'd only give him that kind of momentum and start. I think that could lead Nupo to winning, but whenever people ask me on stream, I flip-flop. Like, sometimes I'll say, like, oh, well, Mawkzy is just naturally going to be practicing 1v1 more, which doesn't always... You know how ones works and how very, very skilled.
But the meta players are always in form. The meta players are always in form. I think it wouldn't matter. So if it was like an NA or a Sam or another EU player in the final, I'd think, they might just not practice enough. But the meta players are always in good ones.
They are,
condition.
And ones is like... You do need just a couple of games to get back into the swing of things sometimes, or a lot of the mechanical players do. Sometimes it takes.
If you've done your 1v1 purgatory, if you've done your time, then yes, you just need a couple of games to get back into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, obviously, both these guys have.
Definitely, Johnny. Do you have any final thoughts on that? Those couple of games before we end this video? I personally I'm done with this one.
Nothing specific. If you guys like these kind of breakdowns, let us know what other matches you want us to break down. Ones, twos, threes. What competitions.
We can do every game mode.
But we'll also be going back to reviewing more ranks. Our next one up is Diamond. We're going to pick up a random Diamond replay, so be on the lookout for that. And as always, join the Discord, check out thenextrank.com, check out thenextrank.com/free, and everything else that we're doing with the community.
Absolutely, guys. If you have enjoyed, be sure to drop a like, be sure to drop a sub to the channel, check out all of our other videos. And other than that, we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.